my beloved child. In the morning, when you stand in front of the mirror, you are not only adjusting your hair or your clothes, you are quietly adjusting the image you hold of yourself inside. You choose the plainest shirt, the color that blends most easily into the crowd. Because in your mind a voice whispers, as long as I'm at peace, it doesn't matter if I stand out. You look into your own eyes and immediately turn away, as if there is nothing there worth pausing for. You leave the house thinking, I'm just an ordinary person, doing ordinary things, living an ordinary life. And it's fine if no one notices me. You think that is humility. But I see it as the moment you sign your name onto a contract of mediocrity, one I never wrote for your life. You tell others you are content staying in the background. But inside, your soul aches with the quiet pain of believing you will never be enough to do anything meaningful. I hear that sigh clearly. Even when you never put it into words, I see every time you undervalue yourself as if it were a virtue, when in truth it is the heavy coat of self-denial the enemy slipped onto your shoulders. When people talk about those who are more gifted, more deserving, you nod quickly and automatically place yourself at the bottom of the list. You've grown accustomed to categorizing yourself as support, background, off to the side, as if that were the only safe position for you. You hesitate when invited to lead, hesitate to speak, hesitate to accept responsibility, not because I have not called you, but because you have called yourself just this much. You have trained your mouth to speak a gentle language that sounds like humility. But underneath it is fear, fear of being seen, fear of being criticized, fear of being expected to rise. You say, let someone else do it, they are more worthy. But beneath those words is a quiet verdict you pronounce upon yourself. I have nothing worth using. I stand there, looking at the child I crafted with intentional strokes, and I watch you label yourself ordinary. And my heart aches the way a father's heart aches when he sees the painting he lovingly created turned face down against a wall. You think you are lowering yourself to lift me up, but in truth you are calling low what I have called precious. There are nights you lie on your bed scrolling through stories of others, how they step out, how they dare, how they shift the direction of their lives, and you conclude, I don't belong in that world. You remember the dreams you had as a child, the moments your heart raced at the thought of changing something around you, and now you laugh at them for being too naive. You say, I was young, that's all. Now I need to be realistic. But the realism you speak of is not my truth, it is the dust of disappointment that has settled over your vision. You bury your small dreams under sentences like, everyone lives like this. I don't have any big calling. No need to fight so much. Every time you bury a dream, I see it as clearly as a beam of light being pressed deeper into the soil of your being. And I know there will come a day I must call it back to life. You do not hear it. But I am calling your name in that quiet room, not with the tone of condemnation, but with the pitch of a reminder you were not created just to lie still and breathe. In conversations, you easily celebrate the gifts, the strength, the sharpness of others, but when someone turns to ask, and what about you, you immediately shrink. You change the subject. You talk about simple tasks, repetitive responsibilities, things you believe are insignificant. You describe yourself as if your life were just a footnote to someone else's story. I see how each time your heart feels both relieved to have escaped the spotlight and pierced because you know you have not been honest with yourself. You are afraid that if you admit you carry something more than ordinary, you will have to live up to it, and that thought makes you tremble. You forget that I did not invite you into a performance where you must act your way into the role. I'm calling you back to your first blueprint, where you were created not as a faint copy of another, but as someone carrying a unique shade of my light. When you look back on your history, you see repeating days' work, home, a few hours online, sleep, repeat. You call it ordinary life. Nothing noteworthy. Just getting through the days. But I look at those same days and I see every moment you resisted a compromise everyone else calls normal. Every time you chose not to retaliate even when it would have been easy. Every quiet prayer you whispered for someone else when no one was watching. You consider those choices small, not worth mentioning. I consider them the marks of a warrior training without knowing it. You measure your weight by what the world can count: titles, numbers, achievements. I measure your weight by the silent decisions only you and I know. In those hidden places, I do not see a normal person. I see someone being prepared to carry my light into the dark corners no one else wants to enter. You have labeled your wounds as ordinary, assuming they are just the bruises of life, like everyone else's. You rarely dare to believe that what you have walked through could become keys for someone else. You avoid mentioning the years you were lost, the seasons you fell, the pains you endured, because you fear they prove you unworthy to do anything for me. But I look at those very paths and see the oil I want to pour out on this generation. You see your past as a reason to withdraw. I see it as the arsenal I will use when you place your hand in mine. You are not ordinary just because others have walked through similar things. What makes you different is that I have walked with you through every turn, and not a single one of your tears fell without my fingerprints on it. Sometimes you tell yourself, I'm just one among millions, God doesn't need to remember me so specifically. You imagine I only keep close watch over influencers, over leaders on stages, over those whose voices echo loudly. But you do not see as I see. When you sit alone in a small cafe, hands wrapped around a cup, eyes gazing into the distance, I am there. When you walk through a crowd feeling like just another passing shadow, I am calling your name within my heart. You hear others speak of calling, mission, battles, and you close your heart, assuming those words are not meant for someone who just lives a normal life like you. But I declare that very thought is what I have come to confront today. Because every time you call yourself ordinary, you place a limit on what I desire to do through your life. And you unknowingly agree with an identity that did not come from me. You look at the people you call used by God and you imagine they are a different kind of human entirely. In your eyes, they walk confidently, speak clearly, pray with power, make decisive choices, almost never retreat. You think they are warriors, and I'm just a bystander. Whenever someone encourages you to step up, to speak, to share, you immediately hold yourself up against that image and conclude, no, I'm not like that. You see only your trembling moments, your stuttering words, your half-finished decisions, your seasons of falling that felt anything but graceful. You gather all your flaws and frame them as proof that you do not belong among my warriors. What you do not know is that the very frame you use to disqualify yourself is the one I am replacing today. You, with all your trembling, all your cracks, are not outside my reach. You are simply mistaken about the standard I use to call someone into spiritual battle. You think my warriors are the ones who no longer know fear. You assume that if you still tremble, still hesitate, still have shaking hands, then surely I will choose someone more stable. You forget that I have never searched for iron-hearted people. I look for hearts that still tremble, but choose not to run. You fear responsibility because, in your mind, responsibility means you are not allowed to fail. You fear ruining God's work, as if all my plans hang by a thread on a few decisions of yours. You do not see that I do not entrust the destiny of my kingdom to your perfection. I entrust it to my power, working through your small obedience. You say, what if I don't do well? I answer, I have never asked you to perform like others. I have asked you to walk faithfully with me in your own story. That fear does not push me away from you. It is the place where I breathe courage into you. There was a time when a door opened right in front of you, an invitation to serve, an opportunity to share, a position that could touch lives in turmoil. You heard your name, saw the trust in their eyes, but inside you, a wave of panic rose. You smiled, stepped back, and said all the humble-sounding lines, "Let someone else do it. I can just help behind the scenes." That day, people thought you stepped aside out of generosity. But I saw the rope of fear tightening around your heart. You did not say no because you lacked love. You said no because you believed you were merely ordinary, too fragile to stand where eyes might fall on you. You went home and told yourself it was reasonable. But deep inside, you knew you had walked away from a small calling that had been echoing for a long time. I do not bring this up to condemn you. I touch it to remind you that my invitation still stands. It has not been cancelled. You think I only place armor on those who already stand firm, without scratches. But let me show you an image: a man with trembling hands, stuttering lips, standing before a mighty king, trying to speak a single clear sentence but stumbling over every word. If you saw that scene, who would you choose? The world chooses the one who speaks smoothly, confidently, who looks straight ahead, who persuades by charisma. But I chose the stumbling man to carry my words, confront power, and lead a nation out of slavery. I did not choose him because he was strong in himself. I chose him because in his stumbling, he still had courage to say yes to a calling beyond his strength. When you see the stutter in your own heart, I do not turn away. I only wait for the moment when you stop using it as an excuse to run from me. You disqualify yourself from my army because you think warriors aren't supposed to have sleepless nights, mornings when getting out of bed feels impossible, days when you want to disappear from everything. You forget that my warriors are not people who never feel afraid. They are people who bring their fear before me instead of letting it imprison them. You say, "I'm too weak. I can't bear the pressure." I say, "It is precisely because you are weak that you are safe for me to pour my strength into. If you fight by your own power, you will become proud when you win and crushed when you lose. But when you walk fully aware that without me you can do nothing, every victory becomes a testimony of me, not you. I do not need warriors building their own brand. I call those who are willing for me to use them, even if their names are never remembered by anyone. You often look around and count the people better than you. You see those who speak better, sing better, organize better, understand more deeply, and you instantly rank yourself below them. You ask in your heart, why would God choose me when so many are more qualified? You assume I choose by the same criteria you use: skills, experience, sharpness. But I am not short on talent. What I seek are hearts that no longer want to hold anything back for themselves. You may think you fall short in many areas, but I see something in you. Even you have not recognized a willingness to love, to be wounded for others, to stand in chaos without turning your back. That is not weakness. That is the raw material I use to shape a warrior who carries my light into this generation. I have never said my warriors are those who never fail. I have never written in my book that only those without scars may step onto the battlefield. You created a standard of perfection and then condemned yourself for not reaching it. But I call those who know they fall easily, yet choose to rise more times than they fall. I call those who can walk while trembling, weep while moving, fear while clinging to my word. My child, what I need from you is not a spotless resume. I need an honest yes from a heart that knows it cannot, but believes I can. You think I only use the strong. I say I use those who bring their weakness to me, so that my strength can be made visible. You think of yourself as a pale color, a small sound, a presence too insignificant to shift anything. You look at your life and see only ordinary days, repeated routines, small unnoticed acts, quiet efforts hardly anyone sees. You say, I'm too plain. I have nothing for God to use. But I look at the very place where you think there is nothing, and I see what darkness cannot steal, what the world cannot extinguish, and what you have never learned to value rightly. I see a flame, not the loud flame that roars in front of crowds, but the quiet flame that burns in a room where no one stands to applaud. The flame of faithfulness when you do what is right even when no one knows. The flame of kindness when you lift someone with a soft word, a small hug, a prayer so tiny you think it has no weight. The flame of perseverance when you take small steps on days when your soul feels dry. You think these things are ordinary, but I say these are exactly why I choose you in the chaos of this generation. You do not realize that this gentle flame has been irritating the darkness all along. Your small patience, your unadvertised kindness, your endurance without applause, all of these have become obstacles to the darkness, because they prove that light does not need to shout to be real. You, who think yourself bland, carry a light that warms the hearts of those near you without them knowing why. You have quietly helped someone survive a terrible day they never told you about. You have held on to faith even when no miracle happened. You have smiled at another even when your own heart was weary enough to collapse. These things are not small to me. You think your flame has been bent by the winds of life, but I see that it has never gone out because I am the one blowing my warm breath to keep it alive. You are surprised when I speak of that flame. You ask yourself, why would I have a flame? I'm not strong. I'm not remarkable. You hesitate because the image of a warrior in your mind is someone who never trembles, never wavers, never doubts themselves. But I am not calling you to become that image. I am calling you to become a warrior of light as I define it, one who knows how to keep a small flame alive in the heart even when the night is deep. One who stands in the midst of chaos without letting their spirit go dim. One who chooses light in small decisions without needing anyone's approval. A true warrior is not one who is never weak, but one who, even in weakness, turns toward me to keep the flame within them burning. There are nights when you think you are nearly extinguished. You lie staring at the ceiling, exhausted, without the strength to pray clearly, only able to sigh. You assume that the flame in you has gone out, but I see that it has not. I see a flicker trembling in the night wind, bending but still clinging to the spark I planted in you from the beginning. You do not know how precious your faithfulness in weary days is to me. You think it is too ordinary to count, but I have recorded every moment you chose not to give up. You do not know that great light begins from such small, fragile flames. I call this a sign, not the sign of someone perfect, but the sign of someone I have prepared. Your mind hears this and curls back in fear of expectation. You fear that if you have a flame, you must be strong like others. You fear I expect you to become someone you are not ready to be. You fear being placed in a place you feel unqualified to stand. But, my child, I do not come to place burdens on you. I come to speak a truth that the darkness does not want you to hear. The small flame within you is proof that you have been sealed by me. Not to be impressive, not to be celebrated, but to carry my light into places where this generation is collapsing, panicking, and slowly dying of despair. A warrior in me is not one who shouts loudest, not one who is known by crowds, not one who never trembles. A warrior in me is one whose small flame cannot be put out by darkness. That flame is the faithfulness you lived when no one was watching. It is the kindness you offered others without needing anything in return. It is the perseverance you held even when you did not understand how you were still moving forward. That is my flame in you, a light you did not ignite yourself. One I have preserved through every night. You are living in a time when human souls are shaking like an ocean without shore. This generation breathes fear, wakes with anxiety, sleeps in exhaustion, and walks without knowing where it is going. Every day you hear friends panicking about the future, coworkers complaining of burnout, family members afraid of uncertainty, and you scroll through countless pieces of bad news that weigh on your heart without knowing why. You look at the crowds in the street, everyone rushing, everyone tired, everyone trying to survive chaos, and right in the middle of that trembling world, you stand, yet you believe you are just an ordinary passerby with nothing to offer, nothing to change, nothing that heaven would take notice of. You look at the chaos and want to shrink back, hide in your small corner of safety, and live a quiet life untouched by the storm. But my child, I declare you are not a passerby. You are not a spectator of this generation. I did not place you in the moment darkness rises fastest just so you could watch. You do not realize your position. You are standing in your own battlefield, the place where this generation is slipping into fear, drifting off course, and losing its identity. You think you are useless because you have no microphone, no stage, no dramatic influence like others. But in a spiritual battle, light does not win through noise, it wins through presence. If you simply stand where I placed you, carrying the flame I lit, darkness is already unsettled. You are living in the very time foretold long ago. Nations will rise and kingdoms will be shaken. Matthew 2:4-7. And in that shaking, I am calling those who know how to listen, how to stand, how to keep a true light, not the counterfeit brightness of worldly attention. You feel confused by the chaos. You do not know what to do with the heaviness pressing on the whole generation. The pressure feels so large that you think, I can't do anything. Everyone's life is burning and I'm just an ordinary person trying to survive. You see fear in others' eyes and recognize your own fear. And you assume that disqualifies you from being a warrior in my hand. But you do not know that the warriors I choose are not those without fear. They are those who know they are afraid yet still stand where I have placed them. You are in the middle of a sea of trembling hearts. And that is precisely why your small light has value. If this generation were not shaking, I would not need you here. There are nights when you do not understand why you feel the pull of a weight no one speaks about. You hear stories of collapse, young people losing direction, families torn apart, and a strange ache rises within you. You think it is just sensitivity, but I say it is the mark of someone carrying light in a dark age. You feel heavy because your soul is brushing against the heaviness of a whole generation. You feel small because you have not yet recognized the flame I placed within you to illuminate moments like these. You think you are not enough, so you avoid the burden of your generation. You try to retreat into a small life, doing only what is required of you. You want safety, distance from the storm outside. But my child, the very place you are trying to avoid is the place I want to place you. Not so you will be swallowed by chaos, but so you will become an anchor. You are living in a time when the world sees only fear, but heaven is searching for those who dare to stand still in the light. You think you have nothing to offer this generation, but I have seen the moments you lifted someone's spirit quietly, the times you comforted a friend with a small sentence, the moments you chose kindness over giving up. You do not see these as strength, but I see them as weapons. My child, you are trying to live like an ordinary person, while I have placed you in the center of panic so that you may become a warrior of light. You do not yet know who you are, but I do. And I was not idle when I positioned you in this exact year, this exact generation, this exact storm. I declare to you, you were placed here not by accident. This is the battlefield I have entrusted to you. You see only the crowds in fear, but I see the one I have sent into their midst to bring breath, to bring light, to bring direction, to bring hope. You have not yet seen your role, but I have seen it long before you did, even when you deny it. The light I placed within you still shines, in the chaos, quiet yet real, small yet unshakable. My child, I know there are nights you lift your eyes and ask, Lord, where do you want to use me? What do I need to do? Am I really called? And afterward, the sky remains still. No storm parts the way. No blazing sign appears. No thunderous calling comes. Only silence, a silence so deep that it makes you question yourself. You have said, if you want me to do something, please show me. But when the next day, the next week, even the next month passes with no great sign, you begin to think, maybe I wasn't chosen. Maybe my prayer never reached him. You look around and see others receiving signs, receiving words, receiving opportunities, while you are left with ordinary mornings, ordinary tasks that seem unrelated to any warrior of light, ordinary days repeating until you conclude, I must only be a substitute. But I declare to you, my silence is not my absence. It is my forge. You think I call warriors by storms, but I shape them through quietness. Silence exposes the true intentions of your heart. When you ask for direction and see no response, you think I am silent, but I am deepening you. It was in silence that Samuel first heard my voice, 1 Samuel 3. That call did not come through thunder, it came through the quiet night. When all human noise faded and a child had nothing except a fragile willingness to listen, you expected a dramatic summons. But I am testing whether you can be still enough to hear my footsteps. You think you are not chosen because I have not answered in the way you want. You think a calling must be confirmed by extraordinary moments. But I am calling you through the consistency you have been underestimating. My child, when I am about to speak something weighty, I often quiet your soul first, not to abandon you, but to prepare you to carry what I am about to entrust. You see nothing happening, but inside, I am rebuilding the axis of your soul so it can bear the role ahead. You see silence. I see reconstruction. I also see the times you blame yourself. Maybe I haven't prayed strongly enough. Maybe I don't deserve to be answered. But my child, direction belongs to me, not to your perfection. I do not design your life based on the rise and fall of your emotions. I designed it from eternity before you ever existed. You cannot ruin my purpose simply because you feel not spiritual enough. There are days you open scripture and the words feel like mere ink. You wait for revelation but feel only emptiness. You call my name and hear nothing but your own echo. You hope for an email, a message, a sign from heaven, but nothing appears except prolonged quiet. You feel like Samuel before hearing my voice for the first time, confused, unsure whether the voice is meant for you at all. But I say, my voice comes slowly, not because you are unworthy, but because I am forming spiritual hearing within you. My call does not always arrive when you feel strong. Sometimes it arrives when you are exhausted. So you will know it is not by human strength. You have said many times, Lord, use me if you want, and you think I stayed silent. But you do not know that I have already begun, not in the way you expected, but in the way I chose. I use quiet breakfasts, familiar bus rides, the simplest days to shape you into someone deep enough for the battlefield of this generation. Warriors of light are not forged by fireworks. They are forged through years of unseen endurance. If I called you with thunder, you would walk by emotion, but I call you through stillness. So you will walk by faith. So do not mistake my silence for rejection. Do not assume I have not heard simply because you have not seen. I am preparing you in the very places where others fall. I am training your ear to recognize my voice while this generation drowns in noise. I am strengthening your soul so that when I place a sword in your hand, you will not tremble. For my warriors are not called by echo, they are called by whisper. My child, I see the way you view yourself through fogged glass shaped by old wounds. Past failures you keep rehearsing. Mistakes you believe have sealed your destiny. You look at your life as a page scratched with erasures, and you conclude someone like me could never step into any calling. You compare yourself to those you think are more gifted, more polished, more stable, and then you shrink back from every invitation, every opportunity, every battle line I quietly prepared for you. You think your past proves you are not chosen, that you are too slow, too weak, too messy. But my child, why do you see yourself through the eyes of people? When I see you through a blueprint drawn before the foundation of the earth, you see the moments you fell, but I see the moments you rose in secret. You see your impatience, but I see the compassion you've hidden beneath layers of dust. You see slowness, but I see endurance. You see awkwardness, but I see persistence. You see someone barely surviving, but I see a warrior being refined in the dark. When you examine yourself through the lens of insecurity, everything within you looks small, distorted, fragile. But when I open the blueprint of your life, I see things you no longer dare to believe about yourself. My child, this blueprint is not written by your memories, it is written by my intention. You think you are limited by your mistakes, but my blueprint contains no line that reads, "Cancelled due to the past." No failure has ever erased the destiny I placed on your life. You cannot ruin my plan simply because you are weak. Weakness is the very material I use to reveal my strength in you. I have already said it, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 1:2-9, and that word is still echoing over your life. I know you fear that your past will betray your future. You believe what you once did disqualifies you from carrying my light. But my child, the past is a chapter, not your identity. Mistakes are a stage, not the title. I do not read your life through the page where you paused. I read it through the entire manuscript I have planned. You see only the crumpled pages. I see the entire book being restored and completed. And above all, I am the author, and there is no chapter I cannot rewrite. There are moments when you sigh, thinking about the years you went the wrong way, fell out of step, were deceived, were lazy, or lost your direction. You believe all of those are enough to disqualify you from any role of a warrior. But I declare this, those very seasons create the distinction a warrior needs. The things you thought were useless have become endurance. The wounds you thought were beyond healing have become the tenderness that allows you to recognize the pain in others. You see them as the broken spine of a book. I see them as the preparation pages. I have seen every attempt you made to change but failed. I have seen each morning you wanted to begin again but your emotions would not follow. I have seen every promise you made to yourself and then fell short. But I have also seen every heartbeat that turned toward me, even if only barely. I have seen every fragmented prayer. I have seen every tear that fell when no one could see. I see the things you consider insignificant, and those are the very things that tell me you are right for the battlefield I am opening before you. My child, you think, my warriors start with armor. They do not, they start with nature. And your nature is not measured by achievement, it is measured by the direction of your heart. And your heart, though bruised by life, always tries to come back to me. That is the mark of a warrior that you do not recognize. I do not forge warriors out of perfection, I forge them out of faithfulness. I do not select based on outward brilliance, I select based on the glow of the heart. You look at yourself through the lens of insecurity and think, I'm not enough. But I look at you through the blueprint and declare, you are being prepared. You see the cracks, I see the places where light will pass through and shine. You see the burden, I see the shoulders capable of carrying it. You see contradiction within yourself, I see transformation already underway. And when you say, I am so weak, I say, I am training you. When you say, I'm just a mess, I say, I am arranging every strand within you. When you say, I have nothing remarkable, I say, true light does not need to be remarkable, it only needs to be true. You are seeing yourself through a lens you built. I am seeing you through eyes that have already seen the ending from the beginning. The lower you bend because of insecurity, the higher I lift you because of destiny. Know this. My child, the blueprint is never destroyed by the wrong lens you use to view yourself. I am still unfolding every section, every line, every stroke, every chapter of your life. And in time, you will see that I was right. Warriors of light are not formed from glamour. They are formed from those who thought they were only dust, yet carried my breath. My child, in this generation where everyone strives to be dazzling, I see you shrinking back, thinking you are not bright enough to stand in a world this dark. You look at those shining with superficial brilliance, polished words, glittering posts, actions designed to be noticed, and you conclude I am not like them. So surely God cannot use me. But my child, I do not choose false brilliance. I choose true light. And true light has never lived on the surface. It lives in the deepest place of your soul. The place I touched from the beginning. You think you have nothing special. But I have seen every moment you did the right thing when no one knew. I saw when you were kind to someone who could never repay you. When you stayed silent to avoid hurting another. When you helped out of compassion rather than seeking praise. This generation prefers a flash of light that shines fast and dies fast. But I choose the lasting light, the light of the one who remains upright without needing a stage. I do not find in you the desire to perform. I find sincerity. No fake layers. No polished coating. No decorative shell to impress. You think that makes you weak. But I declare that sincerity is exactly what makes you the warrior I choose. You fear you will be overshadowed in this generation, that your voice will be swallowed by the noise. But my child, true light never needs to shout. It only needs to shine. And you have shone in moments so small you didn't even notice. When a friend in despair came to you for guidance, when someone said they felt safe around you, when you refused compromises others considered normal, when you chose honesty over approval. These moments are not random traits, they are the true light I planted in you. This generation is panicking because they have lived under counterfeit light for too long. Unable to distinguish real from fake, they look at appearances and call it worth. They call showmanship influence. They call noise strength. But I look at the things you think no one sees. The light I placed in you is not blinding, it is warm. Not harsh, but steady. Not shallow, but healing. And that is the light I need in the chaos of this generation, a light that is not artificial, not warped, not mingled with ambition or the hunger for praise. I have searched for such a light, and I have found it in you. My child, do not compare yourself to lights that blaze too brightly, only to burn out quickly. You are like the flame of an oil lamp, small, humble, but unfailing. That flame warms the room through the long night. That flame guides the lost toward safety. That flame burns with the oil I have poured into your soul, not with the attention of the world. And such a flame is what I can trust in this age of confusion. LED lights may dazzle for a moment, but when the power is cut, they die immediately. But the flame of an oil lamp, oh, it keeps burning, even when the wind blows. Even when the world considers it small, you feel both lifted and deeply moved. You fear that if I truly choose you as a light for this generation, your life will change. Responsibilities will grow, and you are uncertain whether you have the strength. But my child, true light does not depend on your strength, it depends on my supply. You do not have to produce light, you only need to guard your heart from what extinguishes it. I will take care of the rest. Do you recognize this? There is a reason why you always felt different from those who live behind masks. There is a reason why you are not good at pretending. There is a reason why compromise makes you uneasy. This is not weakness, it is the mark of a warrior of light. Darkness fears what is true, for what is true cannot be bribed, cannot be shaken, cannot be copied. My beloved child, I do not find false light in you, and because of that, I can entrust to you portions of the battlefield where fake light cannot stand. I did not choose you because you are perfect. I chose you because the light in you is real. And in a generation drowning in panic, your battlefield is to carry that truth, my child. So many times you have sat alone in a quiet room and thought you were being left behind, that the long seasons when no one calls your name, no one notices you. No one affirms you are proof of weakness and uselessness. You look at those who are given many tasks, who stand before crowds, whose names are mentioned in conversations, and you conclude God must not be using me. I must be too weak to do anything that matters. But my child, hear this clearly. The seasons in which you think you are weak are my secret training camps. No warrior is ever sent to the front lines without a time of hiddenness. No sword shines without spending long hours in the fire. No bearer of light has ever gone into darkness without first learning how to guard their flame in strong winds. You think silence is withdrawal. I say it is preparation. You think loneliness is punishment. I say it is the gym of the soul. You think the boring repetition of days with no visible progress is failure. I say it is how I build in you an endurance the enemy cannot see. Those seasons when you are unseen are not empty. They are seasons of roots. Seasons when your eyes grow sharp. Seasons when your mind learns to discern what is true and what is false. This generation has many loud voices, but very few hearts with inner stamina. And I am choosing you to carry that very endurance. There are days you think you are falling behind, but in reality I am correcting your stride. There are nights you weep, believing it is weakness. But I say, those are the moments I soften your soul so it can learn compassion. There are moments you tremble for fear of making mistakes. But I am teaching you to fear me more than you fear people. You are being refined in secret, not so that you will hide forever, but so that when the time comes, you will not break under the weight of the role I give you. David once faced lions and bears alone in the wilderness. No one recorded it. No one clapped. No one wrote the story down. It was just him and me. And it was those unseen battles that built the strength to one day face Goliath. I am not retelling the whole story to you today. I only want you to remember that moment, the moment he ran toward danger. Not to prove anything, but because in those silent days, I had forged him into a warrior. You think you are weak. I say you are in my training field in the wilderness. Hidden lessons are never glamorous. No one sees when you force yourself to forgive someone who hurt you. No one witnesses when you turn down a small temptation simply because you want to keep your heart clean. No one notices your faithfulness when you do the right thing, and no one thanks you. The world calls those things small. I call them military training. You think you are alone, but heaven has had a hand on your shoulder this entire time. When you ask, why are others moving forward so fast while I feel stuck? I answer, because your role is different. I am not training you to run fast. I am training you to stand firm. Some warriors only need speed. But there are warriors I need for long wars, and you are in that second group. The world celebrates those who start strong, but heaven entrusts the battlefield to those who endure. And I am shaping you into that steadfast one, right in the very season you think you are at your weakest. My child, you are not slow. You are being forged. You are not useless. You are being molded. You are not fading. You are being hidden. You are not weak. You are becoming sharp. No one forges a sword in the marketplace. A sword is forged in a closed room with fire, with hammer blows, with repetition. You are that blade being forged in secret, so that when I bring you out, you will cut through darkness without needing to shout a word. So when you feel weary in the silence, remember I have not left. When you feel weak, remember I am pouring strength into every fiber of your soul. When you think this season is meaningless, remember there is no season I waste. I am preparing you for a battlefield you cannot yet see. And when that day comes, you will look back and say, ah, I was never weak. I was being trained. My child, I know there are evenings you sit under dim light, hand on your forehead, asking yourself, am I wasting my youth? Am I being forgotten? Have I fallen too far behind everyone else? You watch others move, relocate, change jobs, enter new relationships, hit visible turning points. Meanwhile, your life seems still, looping through small routines like a cycle with no exit. You think that is weakness, but I say it is an anchor. While the world runs in panic, I am anchoring you so your soul will not be swept away from my positioning. I have seen your eyes when you curl up in your blanket, not sure why your heart feels so heavy when nothing seems obviously wrong. You call it tiredness, slowness, no more fire. But I call it a form of darkroom training in the place with no applause. You learn how to draw breath from me in the place with no affirmation. You learn how to stand without anyone holding you up. This generation does not lack talent, it lacks souls that know how to stand firm in the silence. And you, my child, are the one I am training to be a pillar in the storm. There was a time you thought, if I'm really called, why don't I feel anything? But warriors are not trained by their feelings, they are trained by their inner discipline. In this season, you do not realize it. But you are learning what the spotlight can never teach you, learning to steady your breathing when your soul shakes, learning to grip faith when emotions dissolve, learning to stay seated when the world screams at you to run. This is not weakness, this is the holy quiet of preparation. You remember the days you sat in front of your computer, opened a blank page, and then closed it because you did not know what to write. You took that as a sign that you had nothing to offer. But I tell you that barrenness is not a void, it is soil being turned. Turning the soil is always messy, dust flies. The old growth is uprooted to prepare for a new season. You think you are out of ideas, but in truth I am plowing deep so that your roots will be strong enough for the season of sending that is coming. There are nights when you lie staring at the ceiling, feeling as if something inside you is shutting down. You don't know what to call it. You say, I'm too weak. But I say, no, you are shedding an old skin. When the bright images you once held of yourself begin to fade, when you no longer rely on accomplishments to feel confident, when you no longer depend on emotion to sustain your spiritual life, that is when I am peeling away the old shell, revealing the core I have seen in you since the beginning. And I know the part that hurts you most is not the silence, it is the feeling that all your efforts have disappeared. You tried to love, tried to be kind, tried to quietly help many people, but no one remembered. No one came back to thank you. No one knew how fiercely you were fighting inside. You think, what was the point but, my child? I have never measured a warrior by the attention they receive. I measure them by their faithfulness in the unseen places. If you shine only when people are watching, that light is not real. But you have shone in places no one cared to look, and that is what sets you apart. When you say, I'm too weak to stand up, I see something different. I see how you keep trying even when no one is pushing you. I see how you return to your desk even when your mind is tangled. I see how you still pray with a single, exhausted sigh when no words remain. A weak person cannot do that. Only someone in training reacts like that. You call it burning out, I call it being shaped. My child, how many times have you wanted to give up and yet didn't? How many times have you wanted to stay silent but still opened your mouth to pray? How many times have you wanted to shut every hope away, yet still kept a sliver of light? You think that is weakness, but no. It is my hidden army taking root inside you. If you were truly weak, you would have quit long ago. But you are still here. You are still reading these words. You still hunger for something holier than your fear. That is not uselessness. That is the sign of a warrior about to be named. I see you comparing yourself to others. You think they move faster, stronger, better, but they do not have the training you are receiving. They are learning on the stage. You are learning behind the curtain. They learn in noise. You learn in silence. They learn by being seen. You learn by being hidden. And my child, my hiding is never rejection. It is how I protect a warrior from being exposed before they are ready. This generation needs endurance more than talent. It needs discernment more than knowledge. It needs true light, not glitter. And that is why I must train you long, deep, and thoroughly so that when the day you rise comes, the darkness will say, this soul is not strong by accident. It has tasted the secrets of heaven. Do not despise your nameless seasons. The seasons where no one mentions your name are the seasons where heaven carves it deeper. Do not think you are weakening. You are becoming too strong for the surface to explain. My beloved child, stand still in this moment. For I am stepping into the inner space of your soul like a beam of light tearing through the thin dust of ordinariness you have grown accustomed to wearing. You have thought yourself just ordinary, but I, the one who sees through every layer, am calling you out of the shadows of this generation to restore your true name. Listen carefully, for this is no whisper. This is a decree echoing into the deepest place you've been afraid to touch. You tremble, I know. Your heart tightens, I know. But right as you lower your head and shrink yourself, I am placing my hand on your shoulder, and my light is flowing down like new armor over your weary frame. My child, I speak to you with a majesty the darkness cannot withstand. Be strong and courageous, for I am with you. Joshua 1:9. You think that verse is for heroes? No, today I speak it over you, the one standing in a small room thinking you are invisible. As you hear these words, your soul is trembling not from fear, but because it is receiving its true name again, the name I wrote over you from the moment you were formed. You are not someone who merely drifts through life. You are not a shadow on the sidelines. You are a warrior of light whom I have prepared in hidden places. Look right now. I am ripping away the veil that made you believe you were weak. I am lifting your chin so you can look into my eyes, not for judgment, but for commissioning. I declare, you were not created to hide. You were created to stand. And as those words rest on your heart, I see your doubt melting like dew under a new sun. You once asked, "Why me?" I answer, "Because your trembling is the very reason I can use you." You once thought, "I'm not strong enough." I say, my light in you is your strength. This moment, my child, is not merely a paragraph. This is the moment I nominate your soul into the place of one who carries light in the urgent spiritual battle of this generation. You feel your chest stretching because I am widening the space inside you to hold something greater. You feel your hands tremble because I am infusing you with courage from heaven. You feel tears rising because I am breaking lies, shame, and self-doubt right here, right now. I speak with thunder inside a closed room. I choose you. I call you. I place my light in you not to be hidden, but to be carried. Do not resist anymore. My child, I have not come to demand, I have come to give. I have not come to add burdens, I have come to remove chains. You have lived as ordinary long enough, but right now, I rename you in the spiritual realm, unseen by man but known by heaven. I call you bearer of light, one who stands in chaos, one who carries my peace wherever they walk. My child, breathe deep. This is the moment you step out of the shell of ordinary. This is the moment you surrender old definitions and receive a new identity spoken from my mouth. And when you say yes, the darkness trembles. When you say yes, your identity shifts. When you say yes, the light within you ignites not by your strength, but by my presence alive in your heart. My beloved child, let your breath slow, because after the mighty calling I have spoken, I want to lead you into the land where every warrior belongs, peace. You think the called ones enter battle with thunder and blazing swords, but my warriors are not sustained by storms. They are sustained by a silence so deep that darkness cannot pierce it. Do you feel your heartbeat steadying? That is the sign that I am placing my peace inside you, a peace unlike anything you have ever tried to create on your own. I declare this, my warrior does not run on adrenaline, does not live by emotional highs, and is not sustained by moments of temporary excitement. If you fight by your own strength, you will burn out. If you fight by emotion, you will fall quickly. But if you fight by the peace I give, you will stand firm, unmoved, even when 10,000 arrows rise against you. That peace is not the reward after the battle, it is the weapon that allows you to enter the battle. It is an armor soft to the touch yet impossible to pierce. It is a small lamp that shines farther than you imagine. You have been accustomed to thinking of peace as the state you feel when everything is calm. But I declare my peace is the strength that comes from my presence, even when everything around you is chaos. Do you see the difference? The world seeks silence to find peace. But my warriors seek peace in the midst of noise, because that peace does not come from circumstances, but from me. Remember Elijah? My child, my servant once collapsed under a broom tree, believing his road had come to an end. Yet I did not meet him with thunder or with blazing fire. I met him with bread and water, something simple, ordinary, so that he would have strength to go on 1 Kings 19. That is how I nourish warriors, not with explosions, but with gentleness that revives the soul. And today I am placing the same bread and water before you, my words feeding you back to life. Sentence by sentence, breath by breath. My child, I see your heart trembling less now. The tightness within you is slowly dissolving. I see my peace spreading from your chest to your neck, to your mind, like warm water flowing across a land that has been dry for too long. Do not resist it. This is not imagination. This is me working in the deepest place within you, the place you cannot reach with words. Let me speak this directly into your soul. You do not need to brace yourself to become a warrior. You only need to stand within the light I have placed in you. The strength of a warrior is not found in the posture they create, but in the one who stands behind them. Imagine yourself standing in a quiet garden at dawn. The ground is still wet with dew. The sky not yet bright, but the sun is rising slowly. That light does not glare, does not demand you to squint. It simply warms, layer by layer, just as I am doing to your soul in this very moment. You do not need to run. You do not need to shout. You do not need to appear strong. You only need to stand under that light, and it will do the rest. My child, I embrace the trembling part of you. I do not despise it. I lay my hand upon your heart to remind you that my warriors do not enter battle with a shout, but with an inner steadiness. You are being led. You are not pushing yourself forward. You are no longer wandering. My peace does not just soothe, it leads. It says, "This is the way, walk in it." Do you see, when peace arrives, the noise within you quiets. When peace arrives, the argument between your old thoughts and my words ceases. When peace arrives, you no longer ask, "Am I mistaken?" You simply know I am guiding you, and that is enough. I declare this from now on. You will not fight by strength. You will fight by my peace, and that peace will guard you from exhaustion, confusion, and self-condemnation. You once assumed warriors must burn with fire at all times, but flames that burn constantly will burn out. My warrior carries within them a light that does not go out, and that light is sustained by my presence. Gentle as breath, yet sharp as a sword. Stand still. My child, you are standing in the very place I want you to be, the peace zone of a warrior. This is the place I have prepared for you, so that from here you may step into your next role, not panicking, not fearing the weight, but moving with a peace that knows you do not walk alone and you do not fight by your own strength. My beloved child, let the peace I have just planted in you lead you into the next thing I desire to speak. You once thought my warriors must stand alone, hold themselves up alone, carve the path alone. But that is the world's definition of strength, not mine. In my kingdom, no warrior is ever sent out alone. I never send you into the battlefield and watch from afar. Everywhere you step, I have already gone before you. Every word you speak, I have prepared the heart on the other side to hear. Every step you think is small, I have woven into the larger flow of my plan for this generation. You think you only walk into your workplace on an ordinary morning. You think you only sit beside a weary friend. You think you only send a small message to comfort someone late at night. But I declare the places you pass through are not random, they are territory I have entrusted to you. The light in you is not only for your own path, but for the path of those swallowed by darkness. Do you see? You once believed you were merely passing through, but in truth you are carrying the atmosphere of heaven into rooms that previously held only confusion. My child, I go before you. I go with you, and I go behind you to cover your most vulnerable place. That is why you need not fear messing things up. When I send you, I protect you even from your own clumsiness. All I ask is that you step faithfully, the rest is mine. As I have spoken, I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Joshua 1:5. Not for a moment, not for a season, not for a handful of opportunities in every place you are sent. I am already there. You do not realize it, but your presence has already changed the atmosphere of the places you enter. A single hand you placed on someone in despair helped keep them alive inside. A gentle sentence you spoke stopped their mind from falling further. A smile you thought was nothing became the thing that kept someone from giving up that day. You think these things are small, but I declare true light is never small. It is simply humble. And when you walk into a room full of restless hearts, you do not need to ask, "What should I say? What should I do? Will I fail your will?" You only need to remember this: I am going before you, clearing the way. I am moving within you, supplying strength. I am walking behind you, covering you. You never have to do anything by your own strength. I never assign a mission without also assigning my presence. My child, I see every moment you hesitate, unsure whether you should speak a word of encouragement. I see you wondering, is this too much? Will they think I'm strange? I see that shyness. But I also see the moment you open your mouth. And when you speak, I speak with your words. I breathe life into your voice. One small sentence you offer becomes a stream of cool water in the desert of someone's heart. You have no idea how many you have saved from the edge simply by whispering, "I'm here with you." There is no place you enter where I have not gone before you. No role you carry that I do not uphold. No responsibility placed on your shoulders without my hands beneath them. You do not walk alone. You do not fight alone. You do not love alone. You do not heal alone. Every place you are sent is a place where heaven has already pitched its tent. Breathe slowly. You are standing in my companionship. Know this deeply: you are not called to shine for the whole world. You are called to shine where I place you. The rest belongs to me, and I have never failed to shine. My beloved child, now I invite you into the smallest, yet most decisive part of today's journey. You do not need to do something grand. You do not need to make a dramatic declaration. You only need to place one small mark, like a thin thread binding your heart to what I have spoken, not to prove anything to anyone, but so your soul may know today, I heard him call me out of the ordinary. You have lived many quiet years, many days believing you were just a faint figure in a generation drowning in fear. But now, in this very moment, I declare you are no longer where you used to be. You no longer carry the label ordinary. You no longer walk as someone just trying to survive. You have been called out of the crowd not by applause, but by the whisper I just placed inside you. And if someone comes to your heart, someone who also believes they are just an ordinary person, send them a word of love or your gentle presence. Not to inspire them, but to transmit true light. That light is not yours, it is mine. But you are the one who carries it. And if you fear, you will forget. Keep this sentence where your eyes can find it easily, where I send you. My light goes before you. May the Lord continually remind you to live each day in His faith and His love. Click follow and turn on notifications so you will not miss any of the sacred and meaningful messages He desires to speak to your heart. May God bless you. Amen.